Today's job is one that involves removing a lot of sod and installing a lot of mulch. As you can see, we've got somewhere near 30 bags of mulch. I don't think we used quite all that, but we've got the Ventrac with the power bucket and the extra sides so that scoop holds a little bit more volume. What the client wanted was a 2-foot strip added down the sides of the house. That would just be a mulch bed for them to have some options for future planting. It's not necessarily something I would have done for my house, but whatever the client wants, I'm fine doing. This was something where I thought about putting the teeth on the Ventrac bucket. That bucket that you saw has some teeth that you can use to scrape and claw the ground. I thought about putting them on for this project, but I didn't really like being this close to the house. I mean, I'm 2 feet away from the foundation and the siding. I don't trust myself and my handle of the controls with the teeth that much to scrape up. So unfortunately, by and large, this was a manual process where I just made sure I marked out 2 feet with a 2 feet level and went ahead, dug a line as you can see, and started stabbing the shovel under to lift that sod up. What the Ventrac was really good for, I actually had my wife help me out, so that it was kind of a wheelbarrow that I didn't have to spend any energy on, and that's really nice. These kind of jobs, if you're a solo operator, you know, it's starting to get 100 degrees here in Florida, so this is the kind of job where any manual labor you can remove, go ahead and do it. I get comments all the time about people saying, oh, you're just lazy, just do it the old-fashioned way. I mean, that's not really viable if this is a business you want to be in long-term, and if you're a solo operator, so you're the only guy doing the work. That's at least my personal opinion over having done this the past, I don't know, 6 or 7 years at this point. Anything that I can do to eliminate physical labor, that's what I'm going to start doing, and this Ventrac helps out a lot with that. No, you don't need a Ventrac to get that kind of savings. I know a lot of people, they've turned their lawnmowers into buckets, or they will fabricate some type of hitch for pulling a small trailer from their zero turn. There's any number of ways you can get this efficiency. This is just how I'm deciding to do it. If I've got this tool, if I've spent the money on the bucket, why would I not use it for this application and save myself the energy of pushing a wheelbarrow around, getting it up the ramp? And I'm also going to be making a lot less trips because this bucket, especially with those extra sides on them, carries a lot more than any wheelbarrow ever would. This job was pretty miserable as far as jobs go. I mean, pulling that sod out, this neighborhood doesn't have the best sod installations. It's a lot of new homes, and whoever did the sod did a pretty bad job. They didn't install it very well, in my opinion, and they also used unhealthy sod. So there's a lot of areas where it's not really holding that well, but you know, it still had time to take root, so there is a lot of physical effort in prying this stuff up and then slinging it around. And dirt's always heavy too, so you know, you've got a piece of sod that's full of dirt, and it's not inconsequential as far as what it weighs. So again, my wife just kind of drove the Ventrac and followed me along, so I didn't ever have too far to move for throwing those pieces of sod in the bucket. And then when it came to empty this debris, I just went ahead and threw a tarp down and had my wife come in and dump it right there for wherever we decided to dump it out at. My wife's fairly competent on the controls, but she does get a little bit nervous when I start telling her what to do and kind of forgets what lever does what, and you know, she just gets nervous around me when I start telling her what to do. So it's a little bit of a learning experience for me to figure out how to communicate to her what I want, and then her translating that into movements of the machine. But basically, I just want her to dump it and then kind of push it forward a little bit so that we have room for however many more loads we're going to have at this point for the rest of the sod debris. And this is how this phase of the project went. It was just me digging up sod, tossing it in the Ventrac, my wife following real close behind, and then making runs as it filled up. I think we did that about 2 more times. We finally finished getting all that sod out. Now it's time to lay down mulch. And again, using this thing as a power wheelbarrow is really nice because not only can it hold a lot, but it's not going to mess up the ground. So I don't think a zero turn would have messed up this turf in this condition. It was pretty dry. There wasn't really any risk of rutting, but again, just justifying this kind of investment in your business. There's people all the time in the comments who say you don't need a Ventrac for whatever I'm using it on. And you're right, there are a lot of things that you can use instead of this machine, but is it going to work as well? Is it going to be as efficient? Is it going to prevent damage the way this Ventrac's tires and light footprint will? Is it going to leave your client as happy? And those are all questions you'll have to answer. I don't know the answer to those questions. But if you're just saying, no, you shouldn't be using that because it's expensive, well, I mean, couldn't you use that same argument to say you shouldn't use a mower to cut your grass? You should just use a pair of scissors. If cost is your only point of reasoning, you're opening yourself up to not really using the best logic. I also don't know if it was designed for this, but this is me just going ahead and tossing these things right in from the truck. It seemed to handle it okay. I don't know if I was shocking the hydraulics on the bucket at all. I think the tires, they're taking the shock up fine. They're set to real low PSI, so I don't know if it did anything bad, but again, this is one of those things where it was so hot and I was so spent by this time of the day that I was not going to gently lower those bags in. I was just going to sling them in so we could hurry up and get the job done. But in the end, the client was happy with it. Again, I don't know if it's something that I would have done. I think if you're going to put plants along the side of the house, it definitely makes sense. But what I did tell the client is that now you've got about another 100 feet of landscape bed to maintain to keep the grass from creeping into it. So that was something he was okay with. But to each their own, and I am more than happy to do whatever folks are willing to pay me for. Hope you like that job. If you've got any questions, let me know. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it.